Recently, Denmark has made headlines by announcing it would spend over 3% of its GDP on defense, the highest level in more than 50 years. For a country better known for wind turbines, welfare policies, and cozy Scandinavian living, this sudden surge in military investment seemed out of character. But behind this massive defense expenditure for Arctic to Baltic Shield lies a story of geography, shifting power, and the uncomfortable return of old front lines in Europe. Denmark's location explains much of the urgency. The small nation sits at the crossroads of the Baltic Sea and the North Atlantic, controlling the narrow Danish straits where almost 15% of global seaborne trade must pass. Its territory also extends deep into the Arctic through Greenland and the Faroe Islands, regions that are rapidly changing as ice recedes and new shipping lanes open. These once frozen routes are becoming vital arteries for global commerce and energy transport, drawing the attention of both NATO and Russia. In January 2025, Copenhagen committed more than 14.6 billion kroner, over $2 billion, to expand its Arctic and North Atlantic presence, ordering new ice-capable naval vessels, long-range drones, and satellite surveillance to monitor the vast, unforgiving waters. At the same time, the threat environment has darkened. Russia has been rapidly militarizing its Arctic frontier, reopening dozens of Soviet-era bases and deploying advanced submarines and missile systems. By 2024, Moscow had more than 30 military outposts across the Arctic, backed by long-range bombers and hypersonic weapons. In the Baltic, its exclave of Kaliningrad bristles with Iskander missiles, directly threatening NATO allies from Poland to Denmark itself. Danish airspace has been repeatedly violated by Russian aircraft, while undersea pipelines and data cables remain exposed after the Nord Stream explosions of 2022 revealed how vulnerable Europe's infrastructure really is. In February 2025, the Danish parliament approved new coastal missile defenses designed to guard the Baltic approaches, systems capable of denying hostile fleets passage through the same waters that carry Europe's energy and trade. The most dramatic step came with Denmark's £6.7 billion weapons deal, the largest in its history. This package will completely rebuild the nation's air defenses, which have been largely absent since Cold War-era missile batteries were decommissioned in 2004. For years, Denmark was almost defenseless against drones or missile strikes. Now it is buying 8 surface-to-air missile batteries that will create a layered shield over Danish skies. At the long end, France and Italy's SAMP/T system will guard against ballistic and cruise missiles. At the medium tier, Germany's IRIST and Norway's NASAMS will protect against fast-moving aircraft and drones. At the short range, France's VLMICA will catch anything that slips through. The first launchers are expected to be operational by the end of this year, restoring a sense of security that had been missing for nearly 2 decades. This deal is part of something even bigger. In late 2024, Denmark unveiled a sweeping plan worth $25.5 billion to expand its armed forces from the Arctic to the Baltic. The expansion goes beyond missile batteries. It includes a new fleet of Arctic patrol vessels, the deployment of a 900-strong regiment on the Baltic island of Bornholm, and even the modification of a Greenland airport to host F-35 stealth fighters. Together, these measures extend Denmark's defensive reach across 3 strategic theaters at once: the narrow Baltic choke points, the vast Arctic passages, and the skies above its homeland. But this buildup is not only about fear of Russia. It is also about alliances and credibility. For years, Denmark underinvested in defense. The United States and NATO partners repeatedly pressed Copenhagen to contribute more, especially since Greenland hosts Thule Air Base, a cornerstone of America's Arctic surveillance and missile warning system. By 2025, Denmark has more than doubled its defense spending share. The message is clear that Denmark wants to prove that it can shoulder responsibility and secure NATO's vulnerable northern flank rather than rely solely on bigger allies. The £6.7 billion defense shield is therefore more than just steel, radar, and ships. It is a strategic statement about the world Denmark finds itself in. Once, Copenhagen believed diplomacy and integration would keep Europe safe. But cyber attacks, pipeline sabotage, and a grinding war in Ukraine have shattered that illusion. Defense is no longer an optional expense, but an economic investment in security, ensuring trade routes stay open and energy flows uninterrupted. If Baltic shipping were blocked or Arctic resources seized, the economic fallout could dwarf the price of any military program. So Denmark has chosen a path it once resisted, hardening its defenses while the Arctic melts and the Baltic grows more contested. Geography has returned as destiny, and in these narrow straits and icy seas, the balance of Europe's security may once again be decided.